A Giants podcast for Giants fans
By Giants fans.
from the offseason through the wins and the losses. It's time to take one Giant step.
Welcome inside One Giant Step. It's another preview edition here on One Giant Step. A busy week here on One Giant Step, which is exactly why you want to download and subscribe everywhere podcasts are available. I am, of course, Shaun Morash. He is, of course, Bryce Gelman. We are back in what has been a seemingly never-ending week of Giants coverage, and that is what happens when there is an in-season firing like Brian Daboll. So if you're looking for our immediate thoughts on Brian Daboll, maybe you're somebody who pops in for the preview pod or the reaction pod. We did do a special Brian Daboll got fired reaction pod, which you should be seeing in your feed. And if you haven't, go search for it there, and we will do our full thoughts there. We're not going to rehash them here on a preview pod, but we are going to spin the ball forward, Bryce Gelman. Yes, we are. It's the Giants. It's the Packers. I forget what week it is. It's week 11?
11.
11. I mean, geez.
Time flies, dude. Every year. You get week 1, and then all of a sudden it's like week 13.
That's the classic Mike Francesa. Somehow we're already at week 11. Okay. Yeah, and it's freezing. If you're in visual form, I'm wearing a winter hat inside because this is now when bald guys get cold. I get colder every year. I really become a cold, frigid.
You could just take it off inside, right?
Yeah, I'm still cold.
The building is probably heated, correct?
It is. It doesn't matter. Dude, this is so stupid. Every year that passes, and I'm 38. I'm by no means an old man, but I'm not alone in this. There are other people that I've talked to here. Like every year that passes, the moment you hit that first freeze in the morning, your body just goes into like this. I'm always cold. It doesn't matter how many layers I wear. I'm always cold. And I was not like that at 23. I was not like that at 24. It was like I got to 30, and every year for the last 8 years, it gets worse and worse every year. But this is why old people move to Florida eventually. And this is why I try to stay the hell out of MetLife Stadium post-frigid temperatures. All right. Truly, you know what? Actually, I think this ties back to a Giant game. Just real quickly, because now you got me off at a little bit of a tangent here. In 2008, when the Giants are playing for the 1 seed, okay, they play a Sunday night game versus the Carolina Panthers. You were how old in 2008, Bryce?
7. This is January of 2008, right?
No.
This is the next year. Yeah, so 7.
This December 2008. So you're a young kid. All right, so we're going for the 1 seed, Bryce. If you could imagine doing podcasts when the Giants are going for a 1 seed as reigning Super Bowl champions, boy, what a time that must have been. So it's a Sunday night football game, and they're playing the other big team in the NFC that year, the Carolina Panthers. And the winner of this game, I think it's week 16. I think it's the second to last week of the year, if not the third to last week of the year. But you just know, like, the Giants win, they're locking up the 1 seed. They lose, they're going to lose control of it. There was a massive snowstorm the day before. So, like, MetLife, was it MetLife? I guess it was Giant Stadium at the time, kind of gets shoveled out. But they didn't get rid of all the snow. So I had tickets to this game, and I'm young, and who cares, right? I'm drinking in the park, and you're going, dude, your feet sat on basically shoveled snow that was like pushed up against the seats in front of you, everybody throughout the whole stadium. And you're sitting there, it's a great game, and they're running the ball, it's windy, you froze. I came out of that building. I'm not kidding. I have never been the same since with cold weather. Like it killed me. And then it got worse as I got older. Okay, so Giants always tie in. Here we are, One Giant Step. Bryce, Packer week, but really it's Mike Kafka week and everything that's happened. So what I want to do here before we kind of break into what we think will happen in the game, the usual stuff, Bryce is right, the fantasy reality, just kind of catch us up to where we are now post Daboll being fired. The Giants never sent ownership, and I think rightfully so with everything going on there, up to do anything other than release a statement. We have not heard from Joe Shane, who we presume we will hear from typically around the bye week, which is another 2-3 weeks away. Mike Kafka went up there as CEO of the New York Giants, now as the head coach, and he met the media. Before the decisions he's made, let me just give you like an overall theme. And I don't know, did you listen to Kafka at all in his opening press conference? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't discuss that with you beforehand. I thought he was cool, calm, collected, said everything.
He was at the moment. He was ready.
Ready. And it feels like a guy who gets it, right? And this is what I respect about it. Forget the debating whether you want Mike Kafka to earn the job or even have the job, just from a standpoint of like what the Giants have to get through and hearing from a head coach that has this isn't, bringing some random special teams coordinator to get through the rest of the year. Kafka's interviewed for head coaching jobs. He's a guy who was a Saints finalist a year ago. He sounded like a head coach to me. He didn't pull any punches. He didn't play any games. We'll get to the Jameis stuff in a second. He went right to that. He went right to, this is who my offensive coordinator is. No changes for now, which again, I'll touch on for a second. But my impression on Mike Kafka was, look, at least for starters, he went out there and he did not feel overwhelmed by the moment, which is a very impossible moment for many. Your reaction?
You want my? I mean, he met the moment. He was ready for it. He definitely saw the writing on the wall. Right?
Bryce did not meet the moment there, but yes.
I don't know if you were tossing to me, but I definitely could tell that he saw the writing on the wall, and he's been prepared for this. And I don't know if he got interviewed. You said he was a finalist for the Saints head coaching job. I don't know if he was getting interviewed to satisfy the Rooney Rule because his mom's family is from Puerto Rico. I don't know if that's the case, but he still seems like he's ready for this.
Well, he's had multiple interviews in the Saints. He got down to be a finalist. So that's
yes. Okay. So in the past, maybe it was that, but he's associate head coach with the Giants. He got the promotion because they didn't want him to leave. And now he's the head coach. So clearly he saw the writing on the wall this season. He was preparing for it. He looked like a head coach. He looked like there was never one moment where he was overwhelmed by the media. You know, he looked the same during the interviews he did as offensive coordinator. It's a different story. You represent the Giants organization. You're going to get all these questions that would have been pointed towards Joe Schoen or the owners if they spoke, but you are now the head of state. And he exceeded expectations, in my opinion. Yeah. It's not saying much, too. Like, he's interim head coach. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But
no, but at least you want to know. I guess the best way to observe this would be this. Whether you want Mike Kafka to be the head coach or not after 2025, you at least know that he's going to be considered, right? You at least forget whether you want it or not. You know the team is going to consider him, especially when you consider the development of Jackson Dart. You know after hearing him yesterday that he's supposed to show he's actually capable of being a head coach, but at least in terms of just like, no funny business, no games. This is what's going on. Down to business. He just didn't sound overwhelmed, which bare minimum I'll take.
It's half the battle.
Yeah,
dealing with the New York.
By the way, Brian Daboll, I never thought sounded overwhelmed. I think he just got beaten down after 4 years, which I think a lot of coaches do under situations where you lose. Okay, now as far as what has changed about the New York Giants here since the Brian Daboll firing, I think a couple things have changed. First and foremost, Tim Kelly, the tight ends coach, has been named offensive coordinator. Why is this notable? Well, Mike Kafka is going to continue to call plays. However, he did not elevate quarterbacks coach Shea Tierney. This is important because Shea Tierney around that building was kind of referred to as Mini Daboll, Little Daboll. He was like the Brian Daboll guy. In fact, remember, there were moments where whether it actually factually happened or not, where Daboll either took the play calling from Kafka and let Tierney have some say, and or at least it was rumored to happen. When Mike Kafka also says that there's no coaching changes for now, I presume that to mean a guy like Shea Tierney, maybe, if Daboll gets a consultant job, could he leave as the quarterback? Sure, he could. Could Shane Bowen get fired after this week? Sure.
That's what I assumed the media meant by asking that question.
See,
there's so much swirling around about Shane Bowen.
I think that's a Giants call. I think the Giants don't want to have to fire Shane Bowen. I think they want Mike Kafka to work. I mean, he's already worried about play calling too, to not have to worry about taking over defense. And frankly, you're not bringing an outside defensive coordinator. So what the hell's going to change about the defense, even if you fire Bowen? I know I've made this point, but they still might. Like, they go give up 40 points to the Packers. They still could. Point is, this is going to be a week-to-week thing with the staff. And if you are somebody also on this staff who sees the writing on the wall, doesn't like the odds, maybe you were a Daboll guy too, or doesn't like the odds of Kafka getting the job, you may want to get a jump on stepping away and kind of, formulating, relationships with other guys who might be becoming head coaches and just trying to find the way any job would work if you have a contract and your contract's up and you think it's not going to be renewed. Try to get ahead of the curve and leave. So I think that's going to be a week-to-week basis. Now, what else changed about the New York Giants? The quarterback situation. Jackson Dart is in the concussion protocol, and I hate when people do this. They try to go, well, how long do you think it's going to be in the protocol? I mean, how long has anybody followed football? This concussion protocol is so different for every single player. And if you're trying to read the tea leaves and go, well, will the Giants try to hold them out longer? Little spoiler alert, they're not. Because Mike Kafka, his best chance at keeping the job is winning football games. Joe Schoen, whether you believe he's on the hot seat or not, I know Bryce and I debated this, and then he had kind of like the Ian O'Connor column, and then it kind of felt like he backtracked when I heard him on ESPN radio, but like Joe Schoen's best chance at being here next year is some semblance of not losing out. And you do that by having Jackson Dart play quarterback. I say that to say, when Jackson Dart officially clears protocol and is ready to play, this isn't a matter of like, oh, protect him, we don't want him getting another concussion. No, he's going to play. And that's the way the NFL works. CJ Stroud is still in concussion protocol for the Houston Texans. Everybody's different. The moment he's out of there, the Texans are going to play CJ Stroud. This idea that suddenly he got a concussion, he was running hard, he's been in the blue tent 4 times. Like, I thought that was ridiculous. So the Giants have named Jameis Winston their starter. It's my long-winded way of getting it.
Wait. To be fair, I just had a reaction like this. Let me just clarify. It was
okay
in regards to Jameis starting, because I know you hate Jameis. Majority of fans do. You're not a Jameis fan. I don't want to hear anything else. If you listen to this podcast, you understand Shaun is not a huge fan of Jameis Winston.
I'm not. I'm not. But hold on, because I addressed this on WFAN on what the hell day? On Wednesday, when we played back some of my clips on Jameis Winston. I want to make something very clear. I'm not a Jameis Winston playing fan. And I had some issues with the idea of celebrating him as a person with some of the off the field stories he had, and I won't run from that. However, like, mea culpa full thing. I have been, from both a fan and I guess you want to say media perspective, impressed with the way Jameis Winston has handled himself since the moment he came here. I have been. Now, you would expect him to say and do all the right things and be that fun, bubbly guy. Like, he's done all that. And I think that I can't quantify what he's meant in the quarterback room to Jackson Dart. But by all accounts, he's at least done and said all the right things. So at a bare minimum, I can't kill him for being a bad guy. Like, he's been fine. I also agree here in this situation heading to the Packers with Jackson Dart hurt, that Jameis Winston not only should be, but needs to be the starting quarterback over Russell Wilson. Whereas I didn't feel that way week 1, where I would have still rather taken the ceiling on Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson clearly is cooked, clearly is washed, and I think really is a further indictment of how great a head coach Mike Tomlin is, that we were all duped into thinking he got the better out of Russ and still navigated to the playoffs. Geez, he won games with Justin Fields too. That's a pro Mike Tomlin thing. Joe Schoen wanted to bring in Russell Wilson, and I think that this is where kind of like the job preservation stuff comes in, right? Brian Daboll clearly loved Jackson Dart and probably wanted them to start week 1, and they went out of their way to do right by Russell Wilson. You don't have to do right. This gives you an out. Brian Daboll's out, even if Daboll benched Russell Wilson to begin with, so you knew it wasn't a Daboll thing, but at least gives you a clean, like, hey, the head coach is out. We're changing things up. We got to start Russ. We got to start Jameis. Russ looked like he had no interest in throwing the ball. He doesn't see the middle of the field. Not that you expect scrambling from Jameis Winston, but Russ just looks slow. I mean, the Giants need to play Jameis Winston. And I said on this podcast, and I said on Twitter, Bryce, if Jameis Winston has to start a game for the New York Giants, he shouldn't have to start a game for the New York Giants because it means something's gone horribly wrong. Newsflash. The head coach has been fired with 7 weeks left. Your rookie quarterback's in concussion protocol, and the other veteran who's a Super Bowl champion looks like he's in a retirement home. I would quantify that. Yeah, I would quantify that as something going horribly wrong, and this is why we're here.
The guy's got zero confidence, Russell Wilson. Brian Daboll, whatever he did when Jackson Dart went into the medical tent, running in there. First off, I mean, I don't know if you saw the report about Brian Daboll chewing out Kafka.
I was going to get to that, so put a pin in.
I don't mean to.
I know. I got bullet points. Just follow along with me here. I'm going to get to it.
Yeah, I look at what Brian Daboll did to Russell Wilson. I'm not saying that the Brian Daboll made him more washed, but once you take the confidence away from someone who's a first ballot Hall of Famer, like, that is going to kill their career. It's going to derail anyone's career. But
What do you mean?
He is. You don't think he's a Hall of Famer?
No. But what do you mean he took his confidence away? Russell Wilson was playing with no confidence, and then he got benched.
Oh, but to be fair, I mean, what are you talking about? The Cowboys game where he went off. I understand it's the Cowboys defense, but it's an NFL defense, and he looked competent as a quarterback.
Bryce, and the very next week when the Chiefs were begging for the game, the guy hit the goalpost from the goal line. You had the same problems you had versus the Commanders.
But either way,
versus the worst football of the Bengals and us.
He still should have been the backup. Then we saw Daboll kill his confidence completely. That's it. He should never see the field again for the Giants. Obviously, if Jameis gets hurt, he will. Past that, he's done. Like, he's going to retire after this year. Like,
yeah,
and it's so go and enjoy CR. Like, I don't.
It's so minimal because, like, I don't want to waste our time with it. I think it's absurd to say Brian. That might be one of the most absurd things that Brian Daboll killed. Russell Wilson's a Super Bowl champion veteran. Like,
I understand that, but as someone who's a Hall of Famer, to do that in that spot, like, that was it. The second that he did that, and Russell Wilson came in, and that second play They ran the ball the first one. The second was the duck throw that didn't even come within 10 yards of the receiver. That was it. So maybe he had a little juice at that point. Then when Daboll did that, that was it. That's all.
Daboll was telling him,
his confidence was already shot, but like that was it.
You're not playing confidently. I think that was Daboll's reaction. You're not playing confidently. So whatever, it gives him a clean out. Here's the overarching thing with Jameis. Because actually it was like last year where I said I would be interested in him as the backup, like the standard backup. I don't want Jameis Winston starting football games with me, but if he has to start a game in relief of somebody who gets hurt in this day and age in the NFL with 17 games, your quarterbacks oftentimes miss a game. Like you live with it and you just cross your fingers that Jameis Winston, you get the good of it, where he throws 3 touchdown passes and you hope the turnovers kill you. Where the Jameis Winston, where I get frustrated, where he's like, oh, this is awesome fun, is when you start rattling off multiple games in a row, and you talk to any fan in Cleveland about this, obviously the end of the reign in New Orleans, like the more you get to see Jameis Winston, the more not only do the awards show, they like erupt. And then the jokey stuff after the game, oh, rescue me after pick sixes, where everybody who's not a fan of that team is laughing their ass off. They're sending it on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. When it's your team, and that quarterback is joking around about it after the game, and you care much like about as a fan, like investing your time and watching the team implode, that is where I have always stood my ground and said, it's not as funny when it happens on your own team. That's all I'm saying.
To be fair, they're 2-8, not much to play for. A loss at this point isn't the biggest deal with Jackson Dart out. You obviously
but I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear you kind of laughing off that you were an imploding, unmitigated disaster, and the reason you lost the game. Like what? Because otherwise, why am I investing my time in watching? If everything's so funny.
Good thing that it's probably going to be 1 week.
And by the way, play loose, do the Jameis thing. But after the game, all I'm asking is, if you lose the game and we lose because you've thrown 3 or 4 interceptions, I'm not going to sit here and pat him on the back and go, well, look how funny he was after the game. That is what I'm talking about. Because that is when a team who's already a joke becomes a bigger joke.
I think you've been very focused on the personality side of Jameis.
Because I think it matters. Because I think it's such a crock of shit how many people.
Well, that's your problem with him. You think he's inauthentic? Which
No. I actually think he is authentic, but I don't think he reads the room properly. And I think he feeds off the national narrative because then people go nuts and love him for it. When internally, and you ask a Cleveland Browns fan this last year, it starts off good. And then you're like, dude, we're still doing it. Like enough.
You're saying there are all ulterior motives. Like he's trying to fix his image.
I do. I think he wants to work in media after.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And I think it's well fixed by now. I think people completely forget all the off the field stuff that he's had happen.
Oh, they forget a lot of stuff.
Of course. But by the way, we did it with Ben Roethlisberger too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Not all things are created equal. And I give Jameis credit. Like he's come in here, he's done some of the right things, and he deserves to start this game. All I am saying is before we throw out the pom-pom, so let's not pretend like this is a good scenario, the Jameis Winston starting football game. That is all I'm saying. It is still a disaster scenario.
I mean, listen, Jackson Dart could be hurt for the rest of the year, and then we'd have to see Jameis for 7 more games. Like that would be a disaster.
That's my point. That's my point.
So it's not worst case scenario, but it's bad.
It's a bad scenario. Okay. So either way, I'll be excited just to sit down. I love the Giants anyway. So what? I'm a sucker. You got me in. Hopefully we get the good Jameis. The other stuff that has happened this week, very minimal, but Graham Gano back on IR. I'm going to assume he's kicked the last game, kicked for the last time as a Giant. I still pin this on Joe Shane. Very convenient. And now he goes on IR, and the Giants do something I've been asking to do. You've been asking to do. They sign a rookie free agent kicker by the name of Ben Sauls, who had a very good career at Pitt, was in camp. Was it with the Steelers? And then he was with the Falcons a couple of weeks ago. And he's one of these guys, look, there's only 32 kicker jobs. So when you come out of college, you're kind of fighting tooth and nail. And if you notice, the young kickers that make it in the NFL, who then finally get a chance to establish them, this is kind of the route, right? You go to camp with a team. Maybe they have an established veteran. You kick around. Unless you're drafted, which like for a Fitzgerald with Carolina, that's what they did. And I think that this
Jake Moody,
like he could be a disaster, Sauls, but like his college numbers were good. And this is all I'm looking for. Kick this guy the rest of the year. I'd activate him for the practice squad. Like kick him the rest of the year. And if he misses a ton of kicks, you know he's not the answer. If he catches some heat and rhythm and you can establish something, and you guess what? You
Jake Bates with the Lions.
Right. And you've checked an off-season issue off. Like, you don't need to take one of your 6-round picks and use it. So, something I've been asking for, I'm happy. Let's see him kick on Sunday. And then, but last but not least, and this broke on Thursday morning, the Giants have signed Isaiah Hodgins off the practice squad from the Pittsburgh Steelers, our old friend. Ironically enough, versus the Packers in 2023, he caught that great pass from Tommy DeVito that set the world on fire to win on Monday night. He was obviously a 2022 folk hero on that Giant playoff team. He returns after Daboll leaves, which is interesting because he was a Daboll guy from Buffalo. But now Kafka brings him back in, who clearly has a relationship with him here. I found this interesting because the Giants just lost little Jordan Humphrey off their practice squad because they were at elevations, refused to sign him. But they signed Isaiah Hodgins to the active roster. Again, I ask, why the hell is Jalen Hyatt on the roster? We know Bo Collins went to IR, so this is part of it. My assumption, Bryce, reading the tea leaves, Ray McLeod, who we were excited for, has done nothing with his 2 elevations. I think knowing the system, knowing Kafka already, being here, I think Isaiah Hodgins probably gets on the field already on Sunday.
I'm excited. Like at this point, like any sort of playmakers on the offensive side are much welcome addition. You know what I mean? There's nothing more to say about it. Great, like terrific. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, but look, when Dart comes back, that's why I think it's important. He's been crushed by brutal drops, Slayton, Theo Johnson. He's just Isaiah Hodgins, for all his warts, is just a sure-handed kind of quick release.
Any help is needed.
Any help is needed.
Especially him, like Giants legend Isaiah Hodgins is back.
Now, friend, great reporter Jordan Renan put up the story that Bryce alluded to a little while ago, talking to players and talking to sources, that in the waning weeks here of Brian Daboll, he started to lose it a bit, which, again, I don't think is groundbreaking. Most of the time when coaches get fired, we saw this with Judge, you've seen it other places, coaches start to unravel. They feel the pressure. They know the heat is on the win, and they blow up a little bit. He got very angry in this story at Mike Kafka after another pass was targeted Theo Johnson's way in the Eagle game, and it was dropped a couple weeks ago. And I guess, it kind of rubbed people the wrong way. You're exploding on Kafka. And a lot of people are hinting at that this is the big problem with Brian Daboll, is that, like, he was too emotional.
Too immature to be a head coach in the NFL. This vindicates everything I've been saying. There's a reason why no good defensive coordinator wanted to work with him, because he's a maniac and he's not mature.
To counter that, I say soft baby bullshit.
I grew up in baby bullshit. Like, you need to be able to work with other people.
You do.
And approach community.
Oh, wait, Wink Martindale was a complete hothead, and I think that was just the problem.
But that was never going to work. But you, as a head coach, need to learn how to communicate with your assistants, with your coordinators in a mature way. It's the same as like in your workplace. Like, if you're a maniac, if you fly off the handle, you're not getting a promotion. You're going to get demoted.
You know who was a maniac dick to people? Tom Coughlin.
Did he win?
Okay,
yes.
I agree. Okay, but that's a different story.
There has to be a method to your madness, and people have to respect.
He didn't win early, by the way, when he's going 8-8, and that first year
he never commanded respect the way that Tom Coughlin did.
Brian Burns seemed to act like he commanded respect.
You had to be early to practice. Like, there was a method to his madness. With Daboll, it felt like he flew off the handle for no reason all the time.
I think, Bryce, this is showing a difference in our generations, and you represent some of the young people. Yeah. You guys are soft, dude. Like, he's holding. This is the problem. You want accountability until accountability happens. Mike Kafka, you're calling plays. Your offensive guys keep dropping passes. I'm going to get pissed at you. Wink Martindale, you're not covering well. You're not setting the blitz. I'm going to get pissed at you. Like, I am so sick and tired of every time you get yelled at. Now, does Brian Daboll need to thread the needle, if that's what you're saying, a little more, and he needed to?
Yeah.
Sure. I agree with that, but I'm not going to stand by and go, well, he was mean to Mike Kafka. No, bullshit. Your players are dropping passes. Because how could I get mad at Brian Daboll for exploding that way when it was my biggest gripe with the team? So he's exuding the anger that I have, that we're all seeing with our eyes. And it's just very funny to me that everything Brian Daboll wanted to do, start Jackson Dart. Okay, but Joe Schoen made a promise to Russell Wilson. He's going to start. Now suddenly we could play Jameis Winston. We can't move Jalen Hyatt because it's going to expose Joe Schoen for a bad draft pick. Oh, my God, we need to win now. They fired Daboll. Let me bring in Isaiah Hodgins, who was the Daboll guy, back. Like, Graham Gano. Let's put Graham Gano on IR and let's bring in a young kicker when I know Brian Daboll was frustrated with that. Like, it's just so funny that Brian Daboll gets booted to the ground. And all of a sudden this week, things that Daboll had been looking for his own job preservation happened for Daboll and Kafka and Shane. And now we get to see the hit pieces to try to fluff up Kafka. They're a disaster. It's a nightmare. And we'll get to fantasy versus reality. But all I'm saying is, when you see the hit, because this happens every time, just be smart to read through the bullshit and ask exactly what we're reading here.
This is not out of the ordinary, though. This
No,
is
it's not.
oh my God.
And I'm not even
Daboll,
I'm not even telling you Brian Daboll should have kept the shot. I'm over it. He should have been fired. I'm just saying, like, what are we talking about here? Okay. Fantasy versus reality. Then Bryce is right, and then a game pick. It's Giants-Packers week. The Packers have lost 2 straight. They have a great defense led by Jeff Hafley, who might be auditioning for the Giants head coaching job here. On the other side, this is an offense for the Packers that has been struggling. They lost Tucker Kraft for the year. Obviously, they have Matthew Golden banged up, and people in Green Bay are panicked here. But in terms of fantasy relations, like, I don't know what the run game is going to look like in a game like this when you're not having the threat of Jackson Dart running, and does that kill the running backs here where the Packers just load up and stuff the run? So I'm going to get away from that in this game. I'm going to get away from Singletary and Tracy, and I'm going to straight focus on the passing game. Now, they ran a lot of 12 personnel with Bellinger and with Theo Johnson. What I really don't know here is, without Brian Daboll's fingerprints on the offense and just Kafka doing this, and the idea that Jameis Winston is just going to be that gunslinger out there, not that Jackson Dart isn't, of course, what changes about the personnel looks, the 12 personnel, the 11 personnel, and how they handle this? So if I'm targeting this, I'm actually going to stay away from Wan'Dale Robinson in the slot. I'm going to stay away from the tight ends. And I'm going to go back to a guy who is banged up this week but said he's playing in Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton has said he's playing in this game. Darius Slayton is a guy who I don't trust to catch any passes, but when in doubt, your ex-outside wide receiver that's streaking down the field when Jameis is just in effort mode throwing it, does he find his way to the end zone? I mean, and you would think that Darius Slayton probably plays with a little more confidence this week after that insane catch a week ago, even though, of course, he got hurt. So I cross my fingers, hope he's healthy, and just say, I don't know what this offense is going to look like with less of a run game, and I don't know what the tight end situation is going to be. I'm going with Darius Slayton as my fantasy pick. Now, I'll let you get to that, but I might as well finish it off with the reality of the game here. How do you win this game for the Giants? First of all, Jameis, 2 interception max. You go over that, I'm going to assume you've lost that game. If you throw interceptions that lead to the pick sixes, the God's rescues from pick sixes, I think you're going to lose the game if you give up a defensive touchdown in here. So how do you win the game? Don't allow an offensive play to turn into a defensive touchdown, number 1. And number 2, you got to frustrate the hell out of Jordan Love. They're on a short week. He looked erratic at times last week. Sure, Josh Jacobs, I'm sure, is going to gallop through you at every turn because I don't expect that to change necessarily. And just try to get a little prideful boost if you're the defense and go, look, the head coach just got fired. Take the message here from Burns. Just go punish Jordan Love. Make them one-dimensional. And if they run the ball for 200 yards, they run the ball for 200 yards. But do not allow the bevy of Packers receivers to kind of pick you apart. And Paulson Adebo coming back, I think, is a big deal for that. But you can't have offensive plays turn into defensive scores. And you certainly can't have Jordan Love torch you if you're already probably going to get pounced on the ground. Bryce?
I hate to be basic, but I'm going to also go Darius Slayton. Like,
that's fine.
Jameis Winston, high volume, might throw the ball 40 times. And who naturally is going to get the looks down the field? It's Darius Slayton. As you said earlier, Ray McLeod. I don't know. I mean, I don't know his deal. Wan'Dale Robinson. That's not exactly Jameis Winston's game. The dump offs, and I think Slayton is a solid pick there. I'm not even gonna for every reason you said. There's no. I had my points down. You hit them all. So the reality of this game, you look at what the Packers have done over the last 2 weeks. They put up 20 points the last 2 weeks combined. 20 points the last 2 weeks. 7 or 13 and then 7. This team clearly needs a pick-me-up. Like, they are going to do whatever it takes, whether it be run the ball down the Giants' throats or actually unleash it. Paulson Adebo looks like he's going to be back potentially. I don't know, hoping that happens. The Giants secondary is going to look a lot like it did earlier on in the season. There are not going to be as many holes. There's not going to be as many issues as we've seen. And the worst player in the NFL, Deonte Banks, will not be on the field as much as we've seen in the past. So I say that just to say this, that the fact that the Giants, week in and week out, we've talked about it a million times, the best thing they could do is get to the quarterback. They allowed 3 sacks against the Eagles last week. The Eagles defense did play amazing, completely carried them in that game. But either way, the Giants defense is going to need to figure it out. The Packers are losing Elton Jenkins, who was a Pro Bowler. He was a left guard. They switched him over to center. Hasn't been as good, but a 2-time Pro Bowler nonetheless. He's going to be out the rest of the season. So the Packers' offensive line is reeling right now. We say it every week. The Giants defense, the front four need to get to the quarterback. Like we hammer this point home way too much, and that's just the way the Giants can win every game. I think Jameis can't turn the ball over as much as he has, and that'll lead me into Bryce Is Right. Like I wanted to tie them both in together. My Bryce Is Right of the week. Last week, I said that the Bears were going to combine for 225 yards. They would have. The running backs average like 7 yards per carry. If they decided to run it more, they would have easily reached that. But this week, you may disagree with this one. Jameis Winston is going to throw for 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. He's going to be slinging it, and I'll get to my game pick, and you'll understand that a little bit more. But Jameis Winston's going to have a good week. His career against the Packers, 3 times he's played them, he's thrown 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He clearly plays well against the Packers.
What's his record versus the Packers?
I didn't really look that far into it, but I'd look at his stats. That's the most
1 and
important.
2. 1 and 2.
To be fair, I'm going to get to my, I'll get to my game pick after, but yeah, it plays into that. The record doesn't matter. He's still going to throw 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So I'd like to get one of these right. I'm 0 for 2. They're supposed to be far-fetched, and if I get one right the rest of the year, that'll be terrific. But let's do game pick.
All right. Jameis Winston has never won a game where Micah Parsons is pass rushing against him.
Wow.
How about that for your step back? All right, here's my game pick. Packers 7-point favorites, line juice to the Packers. I have nothing analytically to add here other than how many times have we seen this like bump? I know it didn't work for the Titans, but they hung in there the first game. I just think you get like an impassioned Giant team where Jameis Winston just has everybody playing loose. And I think the Packers are playing very tight right now. They're trying to find themselves. The game's not going to make any sense. We're probably going to laugh about it after. I'm taking the Giants to win outright 23.
Wow. Wait, so you're 5-5. I'm 3-7. So
okay, there you go. It's again, I'm not, and this is not a like. I think the Giants are good. I think the Packers think. I just think this is going to be one of those make no sense. Been a weird week in Giant land. People are gonna, and this will be typical. Like people go nuts for Jameis after the game, and then like it'll probably come crashing down.
Get the head coach bump.
Yeah, the head coach bump. And that's a real thing. Like it's happened. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think the way the Packers are trending right now also plays into it. I could also like, if we were doing this podcast in Green Bay and it was one giant cheesehead, I think we're worried about this game a little bit from that standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you got?
Okay. So the way I think this game is going to go, first off, I think that the final score is going to be 30-24. The Packers are going to get off to a good start. And I think the Giants are going to abandon their game plan of trying to run the ball. And later on in the game, Jameis is going to sling it like he slings it. That's why I said 3 touchdowns, because in the second half, he's going to go off. The Giants are going to backdoor cover. And that's why I have 30-24. They'll just get within that minus or +7 number for the Giants. So I don't know. I like the Packers.
You like the Packers to win the game, but Giants to cover.
Yes, the Packers are going to get off to a good start. They have to, dude, after putting up 7 points and 13 the week before, 20. Like they are playing for a lot right now. Like the NFC North has become much, much harder for them to win now. They're going to need a pick-me-up game. I think they're going to get that early, but later on in the game, the Giants and whatever, like the vibes, aura is going to take over, but they're still going to lose the game because they're the Giants at the end of the day. And Jameis is not a good enough quarterback to have a win here. I hope they win. I hope you're right, but we have the same pick. Giants +7.
All right. We'll be back to recap the episode, whether that be Sunday night, Monday morning, whatever the hell, we'll figure it out. At Bryce Gelman, at Shaun Morash. Thanks for taking one giant step with us.